I read like 2 to 3 books a week. And this is one of the best books I've ever read. There's so many amazing lessons I learned when reading Atomic Habits, but here are the lessons that really transformed my life and actually helped me manage my 9 to 5, my side hustle, and my social life without burning out. I tend to be very harsh on myself, especially when I'm not making the progress that I want. And one of the things that I loved about the book, it said, you're not the problem is your systems. So I used to really shame myself for shaming myself. It was like such a vicious cycle, especially when we start something but then don't finish it. It just, I don't know if you feel the same way, but it erodes our self-esteem kind of over time. And that's where I get in the habit loop of like, something's wrong with me. That's at least what I used to think. But what I realized is that I just didn't have the right systems put in place to actually set me up for success. I started training for a marathon, and in the beginning, I just winged it, right? I was like, oh, I'm just gonna increase my mileage like every week and go on a run every day and it'll be fine. Boy, was I wrong. Because what I learned when I hired a running coach is you gotta have strength training, you have to have like fast speed days, and you have to have like 2 rest days. So my system, the way to get to my result of like running a marathon, was wrong. It was just a whack. And that's why I started hiring a running coach, and that's when I really started putting in the right systems to actually get me to my ultimate goal of running a marathon. Another thing I really loved about the book was true behavior change is identity change. That is what James Clear says in his book, Atomic Habits. Because if we really have a bad habit, we change it the wrong way. If we want to lose weight, we just start eating less or we exercise more. However, what James Clear says in his book, which I absolutely love, is you need to change your identity first. So the way he really talks about it is that you have like different layers. So the first layer in the middle is identity, then you have the processes, and then the outcomes. And here's why it's so key. My friend and I went to Mexico recently, and someone asked us about, what do we do for a living? And I didn't really remember, but I said, I'm a director in product, in an e-commerce company. And then later, when my friend and I walked back to our Airbnb, she was like, have you ever noticed that you never actually introduce yourself as a side hustle coach, or like, I'm a kick-ass entrepreneur or a freaking CEO? And I remember this so clearly because she was so right. Like, that's really when it hit me. Like, I didn't change my identity. And if you don't change your identity, like, nothing's gonna change. And especially if you run a side hustle. If you just identify yourself as like a hobbyist, you're not gonna get far. You can only change when you change who you are first. What I also love about his book is he talks about 4 ways to build better habits. Cue, make it obvious. Craving, make it attractive. Response, make it easy. And reward, make it satisfying. A few years back, I really wanted to go back into the habit of reading every night, and I just didn't get nowhere. I was just not consistent at all. To be honest, Netflix got in the way. What I really did to like get back into the habit of reading is I just read 1 page a night. That's it. And I literally, what I did in terms of the cue is I placed the book on my bed. Every time I made the bed in the morning, I just placed the book on my bed. And so every time I came to the bedroom at night, there was the book. So I would just read 1 page. So I made it really easy. And then once I'm done reading the 1 page, I rewarded myself. Like I did a little happy dance, I said, good job, Fabi. Like it's so key to have this positive reward at the end. Otherwise, habits don't stick. How to break a bad habit. So the cue, make it invisible. Craving, make it unattractive. Response, make it difficult. And reward, make it unsatisfying. A bad habit I really wanted to break is for being on my phone for way too much time. Guilty. I remember the average American spends astonishing, 144 minutes on social media or something a day. Wild. I was a bit above that, which is also wild. So here's what I did. I literally went into the garage in the morning. I put my phone into the car. I locked the car, and then I put my car key in a shelf in my kitchen so I can't access it. And let me tell you, my screen time went down to like an hour. And that's really the power of making the cue invisible. So my phone wasn't there, I wasn't using it. Another thing I love about the book Atomic Habits is habit stacking. It's so much easier to actually build new habits when you stack them on existing habits. So for instance, I do the 6-phase meditation by my belly every morning. And then I got a red light, which is really good for hormone balance and your mood. And so I just turn the red light on every time I meditate. That's it. So I have 2 habits at once. Perfect. I love being efficient with my time. Another thing that I absolutely love about the book Atomic Habits by James Clear is to really focus on repetition and not perfection. And what I learned is that habits not really form based on time, they form based on frequency. So that is why it's so key. When you start a new habit, it should take less than 2 minutes to do so that you can really easily repeat it, right? As I mentioned, the 1 page in the book, super easy to do. So I can just do it more often, right? It's not a big deal. And that way I really anchor that habit in my life. Another thing that I really took to heart when reading Atomic Habits by James Clear is to really track my progress. Because people who really track their progress on their goals are way more likely to actually improve than those who don't. James Clear even says that tracking your progress is the most effective form of motivation. Don't get hung up if you miss it once. You know, that happens, like if you're traveling or whatever. But missing a habit twice is really starting a new habit. So one of the things that I do is I put up a social contract with myself. I make it really painful if I don't do something. So for instance, today I'm like, oh, I'm gonna film all my 6 YouTube videos. And if I don't do it, I'm actually gonna do a 24-hour fast, right? And I'm not in the mood to do a 24-hour fast right now. So this is why it's so key. Another thing he talks about is really finding joy in boredom. I love this because Bruce Lee once said, I fear not the man who practiced 10,000 kicks once, but I fear the man who has practiced 1 kick 10,000 times, right? Because 10,000 times will be boring as hell. And I even see this with my side hustle. Like sometimes you do things that are really boring, like accounting practices, right? Like looking at invoices, creating the profit and loss statement. But the key is to still find a way to show up despite really feeling super bored. And I actually think when thinking about building a side hustle that you really love and that excites you and that really fits your lifestyle, and that's what I teach on my channel, so make sure to subscribe. But I think the greatest threat to success is not failure, but boredom. So if you've been thinking about starting a side hustle, but you don't have time to do it, or you already have a side hustle, but you're not making the progress that you want, really make sure to check out these videos. I think you'll love them.